The Great Orme is a headland formed from limestone and dolomite to the northwest of Llandudno, North Wales. Whilst there are numerous sites and attractions around the area, we're most interested in the Marine Drive road that loops around the side of the headland. I've been lucky enough to visit the Great Orme a couple of times, and for a small fee you can drive around Marine Drive and marvel at the views. But it's also been used as a rally stage on and off since the 1970s. It's therefore appeared in at least 12 video games over the years. Before we dive into the stage, it's time to cover a couple of games that don't quite make the cut. Firstly, in WRC2 from 2011, there are stages of the Wales Rally GB called Great Orme. These start with a huge castle which feels like an overextended version of Cardiff Castle, before you plough out into the Welsh countryside. The game features mud, forests, water splashes, and nothing at all related to the real-life Great Orme. What the developers did here was just plonk real-life stage names on generic Welsh-themed stages and call it a day. Hence this one's not going to be included. The next game is a bit more controversial, as it does feature a section of the Great Orme. This is WRC Power Slide from 2013, which is a multi-car arcade racing game with Mario Kart-style power-ups. The Great Orme section is grafted into a number of stages, the forward direction being part of Garthiniog, whilst the reverse direction version is called Great Orme. However, I won't be including this one, as it's a multi-car arcade racer with a camera view that is radically different to the other games. Plus, this same section appears in 2 other games that I am including. So without further ado, let's begin a lap in time. Great Orme. We start with WRC 3 from 2012, which includes the same section as WRC Power Slide, but only in the rain. For this video I'm going to use the third-person camera for all the games so you can see more of the scenery over the wall. All the games have the VW Polo WRC car. This version of the Great Orme is particularly short and repetitive, and though you can see the road going off into the distance, you're quickly taken uphill and back into the Welsh forests, which don't really exist on top of the Great Orme. Interestingly, the Great Orme wasn't part of Wales Rally GB in 2012.
On dirt. 60, right 5, into left 4.
WRC 4 followed in 2013 and uses the same short section of road, again in wet weather, with a few tweaks graphically. But this was to be the last game developed by the Italian Milestone studio, as the French developer Kylotonn, or KT Racing, took over the WRC from 2015.
60, hairpin left, handbrake. Then hairpin right.
WRC 5 from 2015 looked very different. For starters, the frame rate is pretty inconsistent in this game. The Great Orme stage can only be run in this reverse direction and is not particularly accurate to real life, with much of the stage feeling far more inland and less rocky than in reality. There are also hairpins that don't exist, along with a rather large castle at the end, but we'll get back to that later on.
Left 2, into right 3 minus, on 2 hairpin right, wide.
In early 2016, Milestone, the former developer of the WRC games, struck back with Sebastian Loeb Rally Evo, which features the most accurate version of the Great Orme in any rally game. If you compare this to real-life footage, you'll see all the correct turns, junctions and scenery items are present, though they can be a bit less dramatic than real life, plus the stage is always run in the wet.
Left 640. Left 5 into right 5 into left 4 into right 4.
Later in 2016, WRC 6 released, with the first version of the Great Orme in the WRC games that felt much more like the real location, despite the stage taking another sabbatical from the real-life WRC in 2016. The lighting in this version is a bit flat overall, but the stage does feel quite authentic, even though the turns aren't particularly accurate. Once again, you might spot a giant castle in the distance, but we'll talk about castles specifically in a bit.
Crest 40.
WRC 7 came out in 2017 and improved the lighting a lot. For some reason though, should you run the stage at noon, it's only available in this cloudy, partly damp looking scenery. What is it with developers thinking it rains all the time in Wales? Once again, this was a case of the game having the stage, whilst the real-life WRC didn't run it in 2017.
Into right 5, tightens.
left 6, short, tightens, and left 6.
The Great Orme was only used in WRC until 2018, but 2019's WRC 8 still included the stage and involved the lighting a lot, making it feel increasingly more photorealistic. It also allowed you to choose both the time of day and weather conditions individually, at last. Spectators seem to be using coloured flares along the track to make things a bit more interesting to look at, and the track and scenery have been tweaked here and there with a few new features that we'll compare in a little while.
And right 4 tightens, narrows 40.
In 2020, the real-life Wales Rally GB was cancelled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Much like the Formula 1 game from 2020, WRC 9 still has all the events included which didn't run in real life, Wales Rally GB amongst them. This version looks more photorealistic again, although the car handling became a bit more tricky in this game with a tendency to slide a lot more, making it much harder to get around the stage. The big red ship out to sea appears in a number of games and seems to have been virtually moored there for years.
And right 4 into left 3 short. Into right 3 tightens, bumpy, and left 3 short.
WRC 10 from 2021 once again includes the Great Orme, even though there was no Wales Rally GB or indeed any Rally of Great Britain since 2019. The game has a colder blue shade to the graphics with a vignette effect darkening the sky. The frame rate on this game also feels a little bit inconsistent compared to WRC 9, and weirdly large sections of the stone wall have been replaced with Armco barriers, unlike reality. As Wales Rally GB is included as a bonus extra in this game, it's possible they changed some stone walls in another stage to Armco, and it had an unexpected knock-on effect here.
Into left 3 opens, into flat right tightens.
Finally, WRC Generations released in 2022 and was the final game by KT Racing, at least at the time of making this video. It features possibly the nicest graphics yet, with improved lighting and detail overall. Once again, Wales Rally GB is included as a bonus event, as is not part of the WRC currently. Also, like WRC 10, some sections of the wall are still Armco, unlike real life. Now, one thing that Kylotonn, aka KT Racing, did get a bit obsessed by was castles, specifically castles around the Great Orme which don't exist in real life. There is a nice castle not too far from the Great Orme, mind you. If you stop near the end of Marine Drive and dodge the goats, in the very far distance you can just make out Conway Castle on a distant headland. This is actually a very pretty castle to visit at night, as my photo I took a good few years ago shows here. But what about the games? WRC 5 has a huge castle near the end of the stage where, in reality, you'd more likely see the Llandudno pier and part of the town. WRC 6 only allows you to drive the stage in a forward direction, which makes it amusing that there are no fewer than 3 castles behind you at the start that you might not even notice. And at the end of WRC 6 you'll find the huge castle from WRC 5 has been copy and pasted onto the distant headland at least twice. WRC 7 removed the massive castle from the end, but again still has a small castle behind you at the start of the stage. And WRC 8 couldn't quite delete all the castles, with a small one hidden at the start, or the end of the stage should you run it backwards. From WRC 9 onwards though, the inaccurate castles finally disappeared. In the lap earlier I tried to show all the games running the Marine Drive in the same direction you drive it in real life. But in the actual WRC and regional rallies, this stage has been run in both directions. Let's quickly summarise which games allow you to drive it in which direction. WRC 3 allows you to run it forwards, but only as part of other stages such as Garthiniog. However, the reverse version is the stage called Great Orme. WRC 4 does the same, but the forward version is now part of Meherin, where the backwards version is still called Great Orme. WRC 5 only has a stage in the reverse direction, not that it's particularly accurate. Sebastian Loeb Rally Evo has the stage both as forwards, titled Great Orme 2, and backwards, named Great Orme 1. WRC 6 only allows the stage to be run in the forwards direction, which is the same case for WRC 7, shown here. WRC 8 is the first of the KT Racing games to allow you to run both forwards and backwards. WRC9 again allows forwards and backwards. So it's no surprise that WRC10 also allows forwards and backwards. And using the same stage, WRC Generations also allows forwards and backwards. Let's now compare 4 key locations along Marine Drive to real life. First, here's the view shortly after entering Marine Drive. Let's first compare it to Sebastian Loeb Rally Evo, and you can see how accurate this game is. It is a bit dark, as I'm running the game at evening time frame, as noon is a bit too hazy for my liking. Here's WRC3, which is the first headland in its small section of the Great Orme. It has streetlights that aren't present in real life. WRC4 changes the colouring a bit and improves the distant headland. WRC5, shot by turning the car round at the end of the stage, shows that it's nothing like real life. WRC6 is not too bad here, though the rocky outcrop is a bit far away. WRC7 is the only game to feature double yellow no parking lines. The road isn't quite accurate though. WRC8 has redesigned the stage and now feels like a downhill dive here. WRC9 is the first game with a photo mode, so I can position the camera more accurately. It's also the first game with the red ship, notice it poking out in the distance. WRC10 feels more blue and has some extra tall rocks on the left. The red ship is still there. And WRC Generations removes the rocks on the right, but not the red ship. Next is the junction and the St Tudno's road that leads up to the top of the Great Orme. Many of the WRC games have 2 junctions, but in reality the second one is not much more than a concrete track, so we'll compare this first one. Sebastian Loeb Rally Evo has a fairly accurate recreation, though the font on the road is incorrect. The shape of the road in the distance matches real life though. WRC3 uses this junction to take you off into a fantasy forest, which isn't present in real life, as does WRC4. There appears to be a lot more of the Marine Drive behind the signboards though, it's a shame they didn't make more of it. WRC5, again looking backwards, has no junctions at all, but does have 2 sections of hairpins a bit reminiscent of the road that goes up the hill in real life, at least. WRC6 has the junction, but it's pretty bland looking with no writing on the road itself. WRC7 adds the words and white lines on the road and is more realistic, but the shape of this section in all the WRC games isn't true to real life. WRC8 has managed to hide half the words underneath some new curbing at the edge of the road, a bit careless. WRC9 brings the cut-off words back, plus we're now using photo mode to try to match real life better. WRC10 makes the distant rocks more built up and adds ticker tape by the chairs. Finally, WRC Generations just improves the lighting and feel of this location. The next shot is just around the corner, approaching this interesting headland which I photographed too, as shown at the start of this video. Sebastian Loeb Rally Evo is actually a bit of a letdown here. It's got the perfect road shape, but the imposing cliff's a little more than a hill with some rocks on it. The WRC3 shot is actually before the junction, as that's where you leave the stage, but I guess this looks pretty authentic. WRC4 adds trees on the hillside, which is less realistic, and a bigger headland in the distance. WRC5 has this section, which sort of looks like real life, but as the stage is radically different to reality, it's hard to get a precise matchup. WRC6 has the shape of the road all wrong, but at least the rocks look imposing. WRC7 feels much more like real life, but again the road isn't quite as per reality. WRC8 has redesigned this section entirely. The rocks are still there, but it looks less like real life now, as the road doesn't curve out into the sea. In WRC9 I've moved the camera in photo mode so you can see that the rocks look good again, but the road shape isn't right. WRC10 brings in incorrect Armco barriers on the right, and WRC Generations looks nicer, if a little bit heavy on the blurry bloom effect. Finally, and just for fun, here's the coffee shop approximately halfway round the Great Orme, called the Rest and Be Thankful. Here you can stop for refreshments and enjoy the view. Sebastian Loeb Rally Evo almost nails this perfectly, even naming the cafe correctly on its sign above the front door. The building is missing the back half though, so looks pretty small here, but everything else is close to reality. WRC 3 and 4 lack any buildings, so here's WRC 5 looking backwards. There is a building here, but it's not at all like real life. WRC6 not only lacks the cafe, but the road feels like it's made out of sticky mud instead of tarmac. The gate for the cafe is there though. WRC7 actually looks objectively worse here, with less foliage on the hillside and a somewhat boring look. Again, there's no cafe. WRC8 added a large house. I'm not sure entirely why though. But as it sticks around through the next games, watch out for the car parked outside the house in particular. In WRC8, they have a rusty hatchback. WRC9, using photo mode, shows they now have a newer black hatchback. WRC10, and they now have a modern SUV, plus a broken down rally car. This is a random but neat feature of the WRC games. Finally, in WRC Generations, they now have a large pickup truck and a camper van, plus a pile of logs. Amusingly, in WRC 7 and 8, this camper van was parked dangerously alongside the stage. Presumably in WRC 9, the FIA officials got them to move it. Finally, let's put each of the games head to head. First up, here are the two milestone games compared.
And 40, left 3, pavement. Into right 4, then left 4. Right 4, and left 5, barrier outside. 60.
Here's the least accurate stage versus the most accurate.
4, right 3, into left 3, into right 2.
5 and right 5 opens, 100. Left 6.
Here's WRC 6 and 7 compared, the first WRC games with a semi-accurate Great Orme.
Flat right, Titan 7, 13. On Titan 7. Left 6, short, Titan, don't cut, Kings 100.
And here's WRC 8, 9, 10 and Generations compared, with a partly remodelled version of the stage including the house.
Titans and left 4. Flat right over crest, Titans 5, short into left 3. And right 4 in
Left 3 short. Into right 3, Titans, bumpy, and left 3 short. Into right 3 short and right 3, keep in, into left 3, Titans, don't cut.
Now let's go mad. Here are all 10 games at the same time. I've looped the short games so that they don't end early.
Left 3, pavement. Into right 4, then left 4. Right 4, and left 5, barrier outside.
Onto left 3, onto left 2 minus, into right 2, cut, onto left 4, onto
Right 6, Titans, and left 3, keep in. And right 9, Titans 5, don't cut, into right 8, long, Titans 4. And left 6, long, opens, into right 4, 40.
very long, Titans 40. Right 3 short, rock out and left 5, don't cut, 200.
Left 5, don't cut, 200. Right 5, 40. 3 Titans. Into left 5, 30. And caution, brake for right 3 short, into left 3 short.
6 and left 5, very long, into right 6.
Thanks for watching. Leave a comment, like and subscribe. And join me again for A Lap in Time.